Wholeness, everyone, and welcome to another edition of We Meditate. My name is Son of Pharaoh, and today I'm coming with you, passing on some information about the year 2015. The year 2015. As we know, we're already well into it, so hopefully some of us have got our gears churning, and we are going and getting all of the things that we want out of this particular lifetime. However, some of us may not necessarily know, it may not necessarily be in action. In a way that is according to the energy that's being transmitted to us this year. So I'm just passing on some information, passing on some knowledge to help give you a little more knowledge field inspiration so that you can have just that much more energy to go pursue whatever it is you need to pursue at this particular time in your life. So getting directly into it, the year 2015, I'm gonna break it down actually from a numerology standpoint. Again, numerology is a very good spiritual science that can be used to break codes of some symbology to help us understand more of the blueprint of what's going on in our everyday lives and what's going on collectively in society, as well as interdimensionally as we are just moving, from this particular 3D land as it ties into other lands as well. But nevertheless, the numerological breakdown for the year 2015 is actually the number 8. So 2015, 2015, that actually equals 8. You add all the numbers up and then you collapse them down into this essential function. It's a number 8. And then when you reduce it, it actually comes down to the number 2. So there's two things that's going on here. First, we'll deal with 8. So for the number 8, of course, we have multiple meanings for that particular number based on whatever system that you may be working under or working with. Just for basic knowledge, the number 8, deals with infinity. Again, if you do the number 8 as it's standing upright, if you just turn it on its side, for it was at 90 degrees, you will actually see that it is the same symbol for infinity. So this number for infinity, or this number 8, actually talks about the infinite amount of energy that is taking place here in the universe, showing that there's infinite possibilities, infinite interactions, and just the infinitude, so to speak, as it's called, of possibilities that you could have in your particular life. Additionally, the number 8, when it's looked at from its rigid standpoint, again, it's a round number. When you make the corner straight, making crooked corners straight, it actually turns into an hourglass, meaning time. And so again, that's the part of the double meaning here. We are in the dimension of time, and we're in the year 2015, which is 8. And so we could actually crack the code of time, or crack the binding of time, or the illusion of time this year, based on some of our particular actions, and we could hyper accelerate, so to speak, our plan of action if we get in line according to the energy and the expansive energy that is taking place. And time can be on our side this year if we act accordingly. And so again, with the number 8, it actually has to do with a whole lot of things. And for one, I'm actually talk about how it is linked to the chakras. Again, the chakras are very important in understanding, the spiritual sciences, because the chakras are actually the energetic fields of the body. So essentially how we move is based on how we power up or power down our chakras, whether we are ignorant of it or not. Nevertheless, the year 2015 is 8, and so it directly ties to our 8th chakra. Now, I know many of us, are so used to the 7 chakras, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. However, there's actually more than 7 chakras. There's actually an infinitude of chakras. Essentially, if you wanted to break it down, chakras essentially all of the body cells, in the infinite amount of cells in the body. And there are trillions of cells in the body, which are actually all tiny little chakras, because they're all duct nodes of energy. And so the 7 major chakras, again, are the organs of the body, and they are the biggest conglomeration of chakras, just a unified force of chakras, pretty much. Just think of it almost like you may be an individual person. However, you are a part of a city, and in that collective boundary of cities, you are a resident. Like I'm here in California, So I am now a Californian. So I'm a part of the Californian chakra, so to speak. I live in the United States, so I'm a part of the United States chakra. So it kind of works like that with understanding chakras in the body. So there's actually an infinite amount of chakras, but the major chakras are the ones that have coalesced together and used for one major, function throughout the body. So the eighth chakra, though, deals with the first transcendental chakra, meaning the first one that you cannot see, or the first one that is outside of the body. When we talk about the seven major chakras, we're talking about the ones that generate the body, but also generate the auric field. You can see an aura, of course, if you have gotten to that level of awareness. If you just basically just stare at a person long enough, you will start to see the light beaming around them, up around their whole body. And so the seven chakras again are what's generating that light source of your aura, but the eighth chakra is the one that is just outside of that, and the eighth chakra is actually about a foot, 6 inches to a foot above the head, and this is the first chakra that is again reaching up or reaching out, so to speak, into drawing closer was that closer communion with our higher self, essentially the angelic version of ourself that is still tied to the wholeness, or tied to the completeness, or tied to the infinite energy of source, that chain link, that we can essentially walk up, that ladder that we could walk up and recommune with the full awareness of ourself, begins when we step outside of the seven chakras and then commune with the eighth. And so the eighth chakra, again, it spins outside of the body, but this particular eighth chakra, though, ties into the year 2015, again, because it's just a number match, but also it talks about how we are going to activate and potentially connect our higher awarenesses. And when we start to connect and use our higher awarenesses, this is when we can accelerate our lives. Once essentially, if we have more energy, more knowledge, more favor, so to speak, we can begin to reach our goals at an accelerated pace. Whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish this year, when we activate our higher awarenesses, our higher communication, our higher senses, we could use those things tangibly here and then propel ourselves better. Meaning that we could have a sense of almost ESP, so to speak, where we can just be able to follow the silent movements, like they try to say, ancestral influences that can guide us to the greatest amount of success. Essentially, we would raise our intuition awareness, so that we'll always be in the right place at the right time. And so again, this comes from this eighth chakra, though. And so the eighth chakra is actually called the seat of the soul. The seat of the soul. And again, it is the bottom connection to the higher self. And so think of it like this. Like you said, we're in a body. And so all of these spiritual levels, again, they're just laced right on top of one another. Third dimension, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th dimension. And each one, once you climax at one level, you graduate to the bottom of another level. It's almost just like going to school. You're in elementary school, you get up to the 5th or 6th grade. And then you're what? You're now a freshman at the new level. Once you go through middle school, you graduate those few years, and then you go to high school, and now you're a freshman at that level. Once you graduate high school, you go to college, you're now a freshman at that new level. And so once we max out our awareness, so to speak, get all of our chakras turning, get all of our gears turning in our chakras, the seven major chakras, we can then graduate to our eighth awareness. And we could graduate to the seat of the soul, meaning that we are finally tapping into our higher self. And so this is the seat of the soul, because we're literally like right at the feet of our higher self that is standing right on top of us. And so the symbology 8, though, it works because it shows how the multiple discs are connected. And again, chakras are discs. They are like gears that are churning inside of the body. And so as gears are connected to one another, they propel and turn one another. And so once we finally get up enough will, enough information, enough knowledge, enough courage to finally activate and turn on our seven major chakras, we will again spin our crown chakra in the lotus blossom, and then it will finally grow in enough strength to attach and connect with the 8th chakra above it, and then that one will start to spin as well. And then once that one starts to spin as well, that's when we start to gain into the higher sense of awareness, like they call it the favor of God. Um, and essentially, you see people all the time who have the favor of God. It's basically like a person who's always lucky, a person who's always always in the right place at the right time, a person who's just super successful for whatever reason. I like to use, practical examples, people who may be doing this, whether they know it or not, I don't know because I'm not in their lives, but people just kind of always be in the right place at the right time. A perfect example is like a Mark Cuban. I always love my sports examples. Mark Cuban is a person who's used that higher sense of awareness to always be in the right place at the right time. Essentially, he got a divine idea, so to speak. From his divine intuition, he built it up, maximized using his 7 chakras, opened up a business, used his 7 chakras to generate, enough people around him in his projections to work for him. The business became successful, and then at the right time, he sold it for a profit. And then he really repeated that process in a matter of 10 years. This guy went from a regular person, just kind of like me and you, to a billionaire in just 10 years. And all he did was use his intuition to get divine ideas. He maxed it out in reality. And then right when the iron was hot, he struck and sold it. And he got to a place to where now he owns the Dallas Mavericks. And he was also, again, in the right place at the right time because he was the guy who destroyed the Miami Heat when they lost their first championship, because literally the whole NBA sports world was rooting against, this evil empire that LeBron had created with that big three. And he was, quote unquote, on the force of good by dismantling or defeating, this evil basketball construct. So he was in the right place at the right time, like really when it mattered most. And he put himself on literally the highest level of living, being at that billionaire status. Once you're in a billionaire status, you literally are at the top of the spear, like here on the planet. It doesn't get any more wealthy than that. He literally transformed his consciousness internally by doing the physical work and following his best intuition to now where he's one of the most successful people on the planet. And this is what the year 2015 is all about, where we can unleash that same level of awareness. We can unleash that same level of power. We can unleash that same level of ability and favor in our lives to where we can take the next step in our consciousness internally, meaning our spirituality, our spiritual awareness, but also elevate the status of our lives, meaning our physical awarenesses. And I will have to say that I started this process, and it has actually worked for me. I have living proof of it. Like I went from a place in Atlanta to where, I'm not complaining, of course, but it wasn't, let's just say it wasn't as good as I have it now. I am literally in a better place. I have a better state of consciousness, and because I have a better state of consciousness, internally, my external conditions are much better. And that's simply the hardcore proof of it. And so I did so because I was flowing in the energy of 2014, which is 7, which is a number of completion. And I completed my process of going through graduate school. I finished in the year 2014. As opposed to the year 2013, which is what I was prescribed to finish. But I actually realized once I started doing more internal work why I was supposed to graduate in 2014, because I was aligning myself up with my better sense of timing. Finished in the year 2014, and then I started to get my chakras rolling, and then I started meeting more and more people that put me in a higher state of consciousness, and then changed my situation, and now I'm here in California. And so now I'm in the year of 8. Just like we're all in a year of 8, and I have to continue to use that ball rolling to make life even better for the next phase of life. And that's what we're all trying to do. And so now I have to do what essentially we all need to be doing in this particular time, which is reaching up higher outside of ourselves and looking into what our higher self is got for us this particular year. And so, again, through a process of meditation, through a process of mental clearing, we could finally get our gears turning internally so we could get that hyperdimensional contact with whatever our higher self is preparing us for. And so we do this because, again, this is that connection between the spirit and the flesh. We open up that particular gateway to where we let the activity of light to be transmitted at a higher rate. Because again, that's all this is. It's different light codes and light reverberations and light refractions and reflections that are interpreted by our senses. And so as they're interpreted by our senses, once we reach higher up to the source, we play less of a telephone game. If you ever played the game telephone, essentially, one person says a secret in one person's ears, and they pass it across the room. By the 30th person, it's a completely different message that most likely doesn't sound like anything what the original person said. And so again, if you start to eliminate all of these middlemen, you get the message directly from source, directly deposited into your consciousness, and then you can go forward in full-on confidence, knowing that you're going to succeed because your higher self, which is the God that we all pray to, things of that nature, or we're looking for, paying homage to or whatnot, that has literally every single answer, will communicate answers to us in real time. And so the way that we eliminate this middleman, though, is by again going into the 8th chakra, which is the gateway. The middle chakra is the gateway, the seat of the soul, the feet of our higher self. Again, from our crown chakra, we go into the 8th chakra and begin to clear out our karmic residue. And so this is actually another fact about the 8th chakra. It holds all of our karmic residue, meaning all of our memories. So whatever memory that you got, whether it is actually good or bad, it all goes up into the 8th chakra, and that is where it is held to be inserted into the Akashic records. And so all of your memories, all of your good and bad memories are actually the buffers, are the middlemen to the telephone game that I'm mentioning. So if you got a memory and you're storing and hanging on to that memory because it gave you so much pleasure, that's a person that's inserted between you and your higher self. If you have a bad memory, it's like, oh, I hated that, and you get that emotional response from that memory. That's another thing that's inserted in between you and your higher self. And you're just adding layers for that telephone message, that light transmission that it has to literally weave through and bypass in order to get back to you. And so through our meditations, when we literally tap into our 8th chakra via meditation, we can go up into our memory fields and literally begin to wipe that slate clean. Now, this doesn't mean an actual memory wipe where, you hack your own mind and then you totally forget what you did yesterday type of thing. But I'm talking about the emotional attachment, the emotional response to all of these memories, where we wage good or bad in between each one. We completely remove that, because that is the part that, again, transmits and gets our gears grinding of the lower chakras. Because, again, the chakras are gears and they turn, but they are actually turned. The intensity in which they are turned are based on our convictions, and our convictions are actually influenced by our associations to good and bad, because we're here in a dualistic plane. And so until we start to master our emotions and our emotional attachments to the polarized energies of good and bad, our gears will actually be turned at a rate that is dictated by conditions outside of ourselves. Meaning that if something happens to us and then we get enraged, that's when our gears start turning. Or if something happens to us and we get sad, and that's when our gears start turning. Something happens to us and then we get happy, that's when our gears start turning. As opposed to our gears just turning because we've turned them on and we have conscious awareness of what is happening. And so to gain better conscious awareness of what is happening, we must tap into the 8th chakra and cleanse out all of the emotional residue of all of those good and bad memories, and just take them as memories, a part of our growing experience that is necessary for our expansion and our awareness. And so once we again wipe it clean, the transmissions of our higher self will essentially flow a lot easier, and we will increase our awareness of our higher self. And essentially, again, this year 2015 is tying into this whole cosmic shift that everyone keeps talking about as we flow into the age of Aquarius. Astrologically speaking, the age of Aquarius is the water bearer that is pouring water down onto the earth. And so again, when we clear ourselves up, we prepare ourselves more to be we prepare ourselves to be even more receptive to the flow of energy that can flow upon us like water, meaning it can flow nice and smooth and pleasantly, and we can actually flow with it, and we could begin to flow in our lives, and we could use all of that greater intuition and that greater awareness to again improve our conditions, because that's what this whole thing is about: making life better for ourselves and everybody who comes in contact with us. And so again, it happens tangibly. When we start to get into that flow, the evidence will prove itself. These are the things that we should actually look for. Our personal authority will increase. Our personal power, our inner strength, inner wisdom, our manifesting abilities, our abundance and prosperity, our giving and receiving capacity, our self-reliance and dependability, and just the overall proof, as they call it, or like fruit, as they like to call it, of our existence, will show that we are a reputable person. And again, this reputable person will just be a yielding effect, or it will just be the offset of what we've done on the backdrop, of what we've done behind ourselves in the hyperdimensional realms. So we've unlocked the higher self, which is all of the virtues of life in and of itself, and brought it down into reality because we've paved the way. And so we have to be sure that we're expanding in our purpose. This is actually how we do it. This is how you begin that expansion process. This is how you even gain access to the eighth. You got to get in line with whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. Now, there's two ways to do this. Either you, one, look in deep inside yourself via meditation, literally close your eyes in complete darkness and send your energy in. Consciously look inside of yourself and just swim. Just swim. But find just one central direction. It seems like it. Just go in that central direction. Just go, go, go until you start to stumble upon any sense of light. Until you start to stumble upon some type of source of energy. If you stay patient enough in your meditation, and then again go in no fear, because you will be in complete darkness and you have no idea what you will find, you will start to draw closer to whatever your purpose is, because your inner purpose, it's inside of your body. There's nothing else inside of you. There's no God that's going to come down and say you are supposed to do this, that, and the third. You already know what you're supposed to do with your life. You simply just forgot. So to remember, go inside the body, go inside of yourself and dig, and just get to that place to where you finally run into an organ, because that's really what will happen. You'll run into one of your organs, you'll run into one of your chakras. And then once you get onto one of those chakras, begin to explore the energy fields in there and see what type of inspirations come out. Because whatever inspirations come out, regardless of whatever chakra that you're in, it will give you a fractal of light that will point you in the right direction to wherever the crown is, which is where the energy is at, which is where the identity of whatever you're doing is at. The other way is to just say, forget it, forget all of that, and just go pursue something that you think is pretty darn cool. But if you do this, though, you need to go 200%. You need to go 250%. You need to go hard in the paint, so to speak, and just grind your gears, doing whatever this particular work is. Let's just say you got a regular job, and it's not such a bad job, but you kind of know like, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing in my life, but you're pretty successful. Go ahead and spend the year 2015 going as hard as you can on that job. I mean, as hard as you possibly can, doing as much work as you can, getting up early, going in early, being the best person that you could be, trying to find out new financial opportunities for that particular company. When you do that, that will propel you to open up more gateways. And once it opens up more gateways, it'll actually start to steer you in a direction of inspiration, to where you will actually end up in the same place as the option I said is number one, meaning you'll find a way to get right back to your purpose. And your job might even actually be the vehicle that'll get you there. So, it's either two ways. You could pursue it internally, or you could pursue it directly with your hands. But nevertheless, you have to go hard, and you have to go look for it, and you have to go do it. So you can begin to change your conditions. But regardless of each one, you got to do it with full persistence, and you have to do it with no fear. Again, looking internally, being not unafraid of the dark. And then two, if you're doing it with whatever your particular vocation is now, being unafraid of whatever comes next, being unafraid of just whatever form of advancement comes next, and whatever level of responsibility that comes next. Just go for it, and it will happen. Just go for it, and it will happen. And so And so essentially, all you're doing is planting a seed. All you're doing is planting a seed because 2014 was the completion. Well, I'm actually not planting a seed. This is actually the year of cultivating the seed. I take that back. You cultivating the seed this year. So 2014 should have been, again, should have been, could have, would have, whatever. Should have been a year where you were planting seeds of ideas, whatever your new intuition, whatever kind of new goals you wanted. 2014 should have been a year of initiation for you to start that process to go make something happen. We Meditate that you're watching right now was an initiation that I started for myself, saying that I'm going to start a webpage and I'm going to share all of this knowledge that I've learned in seminary, this freaking $100,000 education I've spent, and not be in fear of what people may think because I have a more occultist um, sense of knowledge now as opposed to a just Christian religious one, and just stepping out on faith, as they like to say, and making it happen. And so this year of expansion, I got to, instead of doing just 7 videos, I got to crank out 50. You see, so it's that type of process, and it's a part of the conviction where I know that this is tied directly into what I need to be doing, and not being afraid of not being worried about what the outcome is. Like, man, why am I making these videos? Or I'm making these videos because I need 20,000 viewers so I can freaking make enough money to just do this. Like, no, just make the videos, Ahmad. Just make the videos, Pharaoh, and everything will actually start to come together if you just expand. So that type of awareness you need to do with whatever it is that you want in your life. Just expand. Just go for it. Remove the good and the bad and the judgments of if you've been a success or a failure at something, and just go for it. And in this year, you will begin to expand. So the seed that you planted last year, this is your year of watering it. This is your year of us seeing it actually sprout up out of the ground just a little bit. That seedling is finally reaching into the light. It's reaching up into the sunlight. If you planted it down into the dirt, into the darkness, you planted it actually into the 9th chakra, which is your black chakra under your feet, the nether region. The incubator of darkness, which is where the primal waters, the primal ooze, where everything rises up out of. You put it down into that. You put it down into that sphere. It's actually going up through your bodily chakras, and now you're blossoming it up into your higher awareness. So this is the year where whatever idea you have needs to be in connection with the higher self, so your higher self can steer you into actually watering it the right way so that you can expand in this year of 8, so that you can jump over the perception of the rigidity of time and you can hyper accelerate whatever your goals are. And so keep that intuition open. Get into your meditations. Look inside of yourself. Clear out whatever memories that you have, and then let's keep moving forward in life. And so just as a close, this is just the year 2015, and this is the number 8, and we can move according to the number 8. But again, this is actually just a symbol. We're in the part of the Gregorian calendar, and so we must walk in full knowledge that this actually isn't the year 2015. If we look at the age of the earth, this is like the year 50 billion, so to speak. But as far as the symbols that we have in this current present time that we're in, we should acknowledge the symbols that are directly in front of us and use them for our guidance and for our expansion. So use the year 2015 as the year to initiate whatever you need to expand in. And again, the year 2015 can happen at any time. So even if you don't get it together this year, and 2016 rolls around, you didn't complete it, plant that 2014 seed right now, right then, and then let that process go. And if you just let it go and pursue and push 100% and clear your mind and just go for it, it will take place. It is not a wish. It is not a hope. It is a scientific guarantee that you will expand. So in this year of expansion 2015, let us all get on the ball. Let's all get on the course, and let's make our lives better for ourselves and for everyone else around us. I am your host, Son of Pharaoh. This is We Meditate. Until we meet again, wholeness and balance. Love you all.